Hi everyone, welcome back to ByteRipple. In today's lecture, we'll be looking into HTML styles, introducing you to CSS, Cascading Style Sheets. In this video, we will see that HTML defines the content of our web page, while the CSS, which is the Cascading Style Sheet, defines its appearance. So we will learn and explore how to make our HTML page visually appealing using simple style techniques. Why do we need HTML styles? We need HTML styles for various reasons. Number one is to make our web page visual appealing, or I will say visual design and appeal. That is, it enables us to control colors, font, spacing and layout so that our web page looks attractive and professional. Another reason why we need HTML styles is to create or enable readability and usability. So for instance, when we create HTML style documents, it enables us to apply property styling that improves legibility, like contrast, font size, line height, which makes our content easier to scan through. It's also important for situations where we have separation of concerns, for responsive design, that is enabling our web application to be accessible in mobile phones, tablets, and laptops. There are various reasons why HTML styles are very important when it comes to web development. So styles make our web page attractive, usable, consistent, and maintainable, and they let us build responsive, reusable interfaces. These are the key examples of HTML styles or cascading style sheet. So we have the inline CSS. So the inline CSS, as you can see from this example, is a cascading technique we use in web development, whereby we use an HTML attribute called style, and we apply all the CSS properties like color, text alignment, background color, etc. We also have the internal CSS. So the internal CSS is where we use the HTML element called style, and we define the CSS rule within it. And finally, we have the external CSS. The external CSS is when we create an external CSS file within our project, and we use the HTML link element to link that particular file into our HTML file, enabling us to use the CSS defined within that particular file. These are some of the examples we see. I also include a table here to differentiate between HTML attributes and CSS property. You can take your time to go through it. It will help a lot to understand the concept of attributes and property. Now we'll be going into demonstrating how this to have a practical understanding of how HTML styles really apply to our web development. Now I'm on my desktop. By now you should be able to know how to open your VS Code. Without any further delay, let's start by introducing you to different HTML styles, the inline style, the external style, and the internal style. So let's start with the inline styling. So I think we've done this severally before. So the inline styling, as I mentioned the other time, is when we use HTML attributes, that is the style attribute, and we had the CSS properties in terms of keys and values. So here we have the style attribute, and here we have the key, which is the color, and the value, which is red. So when we view this on our desktop, let me move my opened VS Code here so that we have a visual understanding of what I'm talking about. So let's see this, and let's see this like this. So you can see now that I have my background color. Okay, or let's start from the color. The color is red of the text. This text is red. The color is red. While the other ones we have, when we use the attributes, well, we use the style attribute for the rest of them, and we have the background to be red as well. Or let's try to change the colors so that we will be able to understand better. For instance, now we already have this first one to be the color to be red. So let's change the background to be something else. So let's say the background itself is background color, not background attachment. Color is much relatable color, and we say this, and background color is blue. Now we can see that the background has turned to blue. So using the style attribute, okay, and this is the inline styling. So let me change this comment to be called inline style. So inline style. Okay, and the next one here is the same thing, but let's try to apply the second one, which is the internal styling. So the internal styling, remember, we use the HTML elements. So we use the HTML elements, and for us to be able to apply this, we will have to introduce the HTML elements within our head elements. So we start by saying style, not strong, style. Okay, and we've defined style. Then what are the specifications? The specifications we want to have for each of our HTML elements. For instance, let's say we want to style all the P elements within our HTML body. So let's say the P tag, and we apply the CSS rule. So the P tag, then we apply the CSS rule by opening a curly brace. So let's say we want to apply the color. Let's say color, and we say the color is white. Why am I typing like this? We say the color is white for all the P tags. So, and we say the background is something else. Background color is gray. Okay, the background is gray. You know why it's not changing? Because we already have predefined CSS styling using the inline styling. So the ones that comes first we take precedence. So, and that's why we're having all this still following this pattern. So I'm going to delete all of this so that we are not confused of what's going on. So now we will see that, let me refresh the browser. You will see that it's only one P tag that will be applied here. Let me remove this as well. Remember now, we are using the internal styling. So let me write a comment here. Internal styling. Okay, so we are using the internal styling here. So this is what is called internal styling. That is, we style our HTML elements using the style elements, the HTML style elements within the head of our HTML boilerplate. So we could also also style other or add other CSS properties within this particular HTML rule. So for instance, let's say we want to add padding to our HTML elements. So the padding for this particular, so what is padding? So padding is simply the space that is applied within our texts. Okay, for instance, like this one we have here now is, we have this text is red. So within this text is red, we could say that we want to add some spacing so that there will be space within that particular HTML element, which is the P tag. So let's say we are adding a 5 pixels padding to this or let's say 10. Okay, so now you will see there will be a spacing inside our HTML elements, which is the P element or the P tag. So that's for the internal styling. Now for the external styling, we have to create a CSS external file. So we could call this style.css within our file structure. So, and here we can now define all the HTML properties that we want to apply to our HTML elements or our HTML file. So for instance, let's copy this particular row that we've written here and just paste it within our HTML file. Okay, so if we paste it here, Control Z, and if we paste this here, let me go back again, copy, and come here and paste it. So now when we go back to our HTML page, for instance, so we'll go back here and we comment this out. Remember, this will be applied if we don't comment it out. So we comment this out and we refresh. Now we can see that these properties are not applied to our web page. Okay, this is still applying because it's already predefined within our HTML body. So but when we come here now and we use the link element, so we use the link element to link our external CSS file, link, I don't know why this is my typing today. So when we are linking our HTML external file, we use the relative path. Okay, so what does that mean? We are saying that our file, the path to that particular file we create in our file structure is relative to our HTML file within our file tree. So what do? We simply use the dot notation and the forward slash. So the dot notation is like a key. Okay, let me give you an instance or an example. For instance, if you want to go into your house, you need a key, okay, and there is a door. So here we have the dot to be the key you will use to open your we have the dot to be the door and we have the forward slash to be the key. So for you to be able to go into your house, you need a key to the door. So we use the dot, okay, which is the door, and we use the forward slash as the key to open the door. Now we are already in our file tree and we want to go into a specific room in our apartment. So which is what we want to go into, the style.css room. So we simply click it and now we are connected to that particular file. And by so doing, the style applied in our external file, the CSS file, is now applied in the HTML file, as you can see. So the padding we applied, the background we applied, and the text styles we applied is here also. So let me comment out the one here so that we can see properly. Let me comment this out. Let me remove the internal styling here. Okay, so that we can see the effects properly. So now the background we apply here, which is gray, and the text color we apply, which is white, and the padding we apply, which is 10 pixels, is simply applied there as well on our external file. So this is how we apply CSS styling in HTML or in developing a website. Okay, this is just an introduction to CSS Cascading Style Sheets. In subsequent classes, we are going to be using these techniques a lot to style our web page. And remember that without this, your website is going to look like those websites in the 1980s, you know, where we don't have any any type of design, or should I say design or coloring of the web page. So this will bring us to the end of today's class. In our next lesson, we are going to be seeing more on CSS styling. So thank you. Keep coding, keep learning, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye. So I also have a challenge here for you. You should try as much as possible to implement some of these techniques we are going to talk about. And finally, CSS allows us to separate content from design, as I've mentioned in the introduction, making our web page core to be more consistent, flexible, and easier to manage. So with HTML style, we can have 2 lines of CSS for HTML, which enables a type of transformation when it comes to creating web applications or applying different styling techniques to our web page. So in our next lesson, we are still going to be exploring more on HTML properties and some other CSS techniques that we can apply when it comes to web development. So until then, keep learning, keep coding, and I will see you in the next class.